Okay, my presentation is called Moving and Mediating, Analyzing Sub-Saharan Africa from a Mobilities Lens. What I'm going to talk about today is basically my PhD research, and I'm entering my writing phase or at the end of the whole journey of a PhD process. And I try to link it afterwards with some reflections. Okay, what has ICTs to do with the story of movement and mobility? First, I start with a recommendation, and I think Ivan had done a great job to have this elaborative story of the age of migration that is complex and multi-causal, and Papa Sol was referring to Senegalese on the moon, so I could refer to him when we talk about the diversifications of destinations in terms of sub-Saharan African migration. Europe is definitely not the most important or the destination for African people to go to. And I would like to make an argument that we should go beyond thinking in traditional push factors of only economic deprivation or political instability, that these are the factors that push migrants away from the continent. Imaginaries, adventures, whatever, are also important factors that explain migration. And what I find important, I am a geographer, I like maps, and these kind of maps do not at all represent the multi-causality, the complexity of migration, and also not the multidirectionality. It basically represents an exodus of poor African people that are kind of invading the European Union, and I would like to make an argument that these kind of maps are not fruitful for any contributive dialogue. And what these maps also illustrate is that okay, we have this departure area and we have this arrival area, and in between there is the big arrow. And what is quite interesting in migration research is that we know a lot about why people move, we know a lot about the departure side of migration. We know much about integration phase, contribution to the host society, but we don't know much about the arrow itself, about movement. So, and here the critique of James Clifford comes in, that we investigated the roots in terms of fixity and not the roots in terms of mobility or movement. And so I have this, big aim to uproot migration research in a sense. I would like to focus on the mobile part of migration, on the journeys of migrants, on the travel, and thereby I would like to of course go beyond a sedentary perspective. It's not only about displacement, not only about a replacement, but there's something dynamic in between. And this is a quote that I would like to reflect on it for a minute, because when you focus on journeys, it's well, as Dutoit argues, it's kind of opens up migration. It says that okay, there can be more than one places of departure, or more than one moments of departure. There can be more than one place of arrival, or because people face better opportunities or whatever. So basically, the last sentence is the core of my PhD thesis. Migration is not an act, but a process-like undertaking. I'm fast. I don't know. I'm somehow halfway already. Okay, how to understand these dynamic, stepwise migration trajectories from sub-Saharan Africa towards Europe, and well, I was not really inspired by this transit migration debate that is focusing on intentions of migrants, and again, it was already debunked this morning that intentions are not explaining very much in migration research, and this is also have a kind of linear migration approach, in the sense, okay, you migrate from one country through another country in order to settle in a country C, for instance. And well, I would like to criticize this linear approach of migration. So I came up with the whole mobilities debate, and it discusses well, basically it says, okay, it takes Clifford's argument that we did not focus on movement very much in social science very seriously, and they focus on movement. But what they do is they focus on movement without falling into postmodern conceptualizations like everything is liquid and everything is mobile. But they have a kind of relationality between mobilities and relative immobilities, and I can explain this with a metaphor. The mobile phone is of course very mobile, but they need a very immobile mass to function. And the same can be said about experiences. When you sit for 12 hours in an airplane, you are actually very mobile, but you can feel experience immobility because you are stuck in this little chair. So this is a kind of well, metaphors to explain the relationality. I'm speaking Dutch now. Relationality between mobilities and relative immobilities. And there's a very important strand of debate, and that was my question to Anna earlier, about the politics of mobility in a way. Well, the mobility of some might immobilize others. We have this beautiful AU freedom of movement for some people that immobilizes the other, the African would-be immigrant. So I try to analyze migration trajectories, to be brief, with 5 other mobilities. And these are the mobility of third persons, is closely related to the social network theory in migration. Also the physical mobility of objects, mobile phones, but also false or not false passports. Imaginative travel can have a very profound impact for the trajectory, as well as communications and virtual travel. And in my paper it's more, well, described in a more elaborative sense. But of course, migrants that are on the way to Europe are not living in a mobile world. They live pretty much in a world with borders. And this is a quote from a Congolese pastor in Rabat, who is saying, okay, we are stuck between the desert and the sea. We cannot move forwards, we cannot move backwards. And then, okay, they are immobile in the migration process because they have the aspiration to move onwards. But then what is very interesting is that these people waiting to make the final jump are quite mobile in a local sense. They have this mobile tranquilos. I don't know if it's a Spanish word, tranquilo. So it's a mobile resting place for people that are actually in a waiting room for the European Union. And they change location regularly. So they are feeling immobility, but actually they are very mobile. Okay, what about my methods? If you focus on trajectories, it's not about one-way movement, as I tried to explain earlier. It's about a very long, maybe lifelong migration project. And so I try to include a longitudinal approach here. Try to follow migrants for a longer period of time. I went to Morocco, I went to Senegal, I went to Istanbul, just outside the European Union, and tried to get in contact with many migrants there, and had these in-depth interviews. And some of them I was able to remain in contact with, and I follow them, their roots or their immobility for a longer period of time. But when you see migration as a lifelong journey in a way, you only can perceive these interviews you have at the location as a kind of snapshot thing. It tells only about, okay, the past and maybe about their aspirations or about their dreams in the future, but basically it says what they are now in a way. Am I doing, how much time do I get left? I'll take another 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. Then I win time, as I said. Yeah. Okay. I briefly explain what I'm doing with this trajectory here. This is Jean-Louis, not his real name, but let's call him Jean-Louis, who left his country in 1997, Congo-Kinshasa, went to Brazzaville, lived there for 1.5 years. Did not feel safe there, and I went to Nigeria. There he lived a quite safe and happy life, as he told me in Rabat, for I think another 6 years. And then these rumors came in of Congolese security agents active to try to well, shut down the influence of the diaspora. So when he heard this rumors, he decided to get out of Nigeria. And there were also two suspicious killings at that time. So what he did, he thought about, okay, what's the stable country, what's the francophone country, and he heard about Bamako, that there was some Congolese community. So he bought not a train ticket, a flight to Bamako, and there he stayed for a year. He was unemployed, unhappy. He didn't get the real contact there that he hoped for. And but he had some Congolese friends that helped him with the Malian passport to Morocco. And the Malian passport is important here because Malians are free to move to Algeria. And he was as I met him in Rabat, he said, this is my destination in a way. I didn't choose for it, but this is my destination, destiny maybe. And he said, he was not really unhappy in Morocco. He had a small job at a hotel and was managing, but all of a sudden a conflict emerged with the son of the hotel owner, and he was injured by this man. And he lost confidence in life in Morocco in a sense, and decided to move onwards. And I don't tell you the whole story. The whole story is in my paper, but otherwise I lose time here. But what it says is that the aspiration, Europe is maybe not the primary destination migrants go to. The aspiration might emerge somewhere en route, you can say. Migration networks are often analyzed as a set of social contacts with bonding and bridging capital. But what I think they assume that this network thing is a kind of grid with contacts, but they don't pay attention to very new ties. And I think in this story also the fact that his Congolese migrants in Bamako helped him, that he didn't know before, helped him with this passport, makes sense here. It's a very new tie that created a new direction in his migration process. And of course, this migration networks are not only about connecting; it's also about disconnecting, as the conflict with the hotel owner, of the son of the hotel owner, shows. So I have many examples, and my basic argument is it's not about lines; it's about these kind of representations. This is was a two-sided paper that a migrant tried to show me his trajectory, and I think it's a very good illustration how trajectories might be. Just to satisfy those people that are interested in the phone. What is the phone here in this story? It can be a point of reference in a network of social contacts. My mobile is my address, refers to it. That is a quote of my one of my respondents. But one of the interesting things that I didn't hear about is the mobile phone use as a kind of deposit. One migrant from Togo had a really fancy phone when I met him, and after 2 weeks' time I visited him again, and he had this just like mine Nokia, not so very fancy phone. And I asked him, why did you change it? And he said, I changed it because I didn't had this cash, so I changed it for my money, and so I can rent for another month my room that I'm living in. And this is, I think, also kind of good illustration that a mobile phone can means more. Well, these are my brief reflections, conclusions. I don't know, and basically the most important thing is my second point here. The in-between phase of migration is not insignificant, and maybe not even in between, but a very vital element of migration research. So, mobility.